What do you do to become a vet?
Well, the first thing, Georgia, I think is you've got to love animals, but what you have to do is pass A-levels at certain subjects, and those usually include biology, sometimes chemistry, sometimes physics, sometimes mathematics.
Why do you need to be intelligent to be a vet?
Well, I'm not sure that you have to be that intelligent, because they often say that passing a medical degree, in other words, veterinary science, or to become a doctor, is really just like passing 50 GCSEs. So do you have to be that intelligent? Yes, you have to be reasonably clever, but your love of animals and your desire to work with animals, I think, is one of the most important things.
Is it hard being a vet?
Is it hard? If I had the choice again, I'd still be a vet. So when I say, is it hard? Yes, there are long hours. You have to accept sometimes that when you're on call, you get disturbed in the middle of the night. Also, emotionally, you sort of think, well, did I do my best? Did that animal, could it have done better if somebody else had seen it? So yes, it's hard in some ways, but equally, it's very, very rewarding.
What things do you do when you're a vet?
Well, years and years ago, they used to think that we had to be able to operate and treat all sorts of animals, but now it's much more specialised, and in general, people sort of do three sorts of work. That's small animal practice, which really are dogs and cats, and yes, what we call exotics, so pet animals such as lizards and things like that. Other people do farm work, so that's mainly cattle, cows, and then also pig work, sheep work. And then there's a very specialised unit who just deal with horses. There are lots of other opportunities. You can work in laboratories, you can work for what used to be called the Ministry of Agriculture, but is now called DEFRA. But that's much more trying to prevent herd diseases. And of course, you know all about the badger cull and TB in cattle. That's much more for the people who work for the ministry.
Do you need different skills to operate on a cow than a mouse?
Well, yes, I think that's a very interesting question, because the size of the animal, it's not just the skill of making an incision, it's the type of illness that they would have. But the sadness to say about things is that there is a financial constraint, because if you're operating on a mouse for half an hour, or a dog or a cow, who's going to pay the same amount of money, shall we say, necessarily for a mouse? But you'd be surprised how often people say, just do what you can do.
What does it feel like to put down an animal?
That's an extremely good question, and it's a very emotive one, meaning by that the vast majority of animals that we put to sleep, we are doing it for the animal's sake. And in other words, what I'm saying in my practice, I'm pleased to say, I rarely have that awful situation of putting a healthy animal to sleep. Very occasionally somebody will bring an animal in and say, I've got to move house, that we can't take the animal to the new house, I've tried to rehome it, I can't find anybody, or that we've gone to a rescue society and they've said, I'm awfully sorry but we're full up, and that they're requesting euthanasia. Now this is very difficult, because all our training, all our feelings are not to put healthy animals to sleep. Now, what we do under those circumstances, if we're given time, is that we will phone up people who may have said to us, oh, if you get a stray animal and if you get an animal that has to be put to sleep, phone me and maybe I can take it on. So we do have a list of people like that. Equally, that sometimes we'll know of somebody who's had to have their animal put to sleep, and we can, sort of phone them up and say, oh, by the way, we have got an animal that's looking for a home, and you'd be quite surprised the number of people who say, oh, go on, we'll have it, we'll give it a home. So, yes, it is horrible having to do it if the circumstances are such, but so often that you've said to the client, I'm sorry, but the end has come. It would be kinder to put the animal to sleep, because quality of life is absolutely vital to an animal.
Do you like your job?
Do I like it? I love it. I adore it. I'm 73 now. Now, why am I working at that age? Because I have very few, virtually no other interests. I've done this job for nearly 50 years now, and if I was lucky enough to do another 50 years, I'd do it like a shot.
What advice can you give me in becoming a vet?
The biggest thing to do is to love animals. If you don't love animals, don't become a vet. But the thing I would like to say is that there's such a large range of work of not just being a vet, because there are lots and lots of other opportunities working with animals in a veterinary circumstance that are open to people who perhaps aren't vets for some reason or other. But being a vet, to me, was just the most wonderful thing in the world.
Thank you for coming in. It's been very helpful listening to your advice.
It's been a pleasure to meet you, Georgia, and can I wish you the best of luck, whatever career you go on. But if you can become a vet, go for it. Do everything you possibly can.